Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, J.T.F. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. On this week's program, we're going to be telling you about how the Zoran Mamdani victory in the Democrat primary for mayor of New York is a warning sign that things can be developing that can lead to another Holocaust against the Jewish people, this time against American Jews. And if you don't think that that's something that's possible, watch this program and see if our calculations are not logical, that God forbid something like that really can happen. And the second thing we're going to be talking about is something involving the Hilltop youth, a 14-year-old Jew who is a Jewish hero, was shot and wounded by one of these left-wing Israeli commanders in the army. And we're going to be telling you about that terrible incident and about the lynch job that the Israeli media is trying to do against the Hilltop youth. If you want a place to run to, if something bad happens in America, you better support the Hilltop youth. If you want to have a place to run to, if you want an Israel to run to, you better support the Hilltop youth. We're going to be discussing both of those subjects. But before we get to that, this program is dedicated to a refuah shlema, complete recovery, for Shlomo ben Sarah, Ruth bat Sarah, Dorit bat Sarah, Reuven ben Shoshana, David ben Edna, and Ashedina bat Violet, and to Ilui Neshamot, elevating of the souls, for Sharon Mitman, Malka bat Meir, Allegra bat Shlomo, Daniel Neinkin, Victor Chazdai, Pesach Seb ben Dov, Lunita Adler, Shifra Hoffman, Reuven Hoffman, Barry Hoffman, Rab Meir Kahana, Rab Binyamin Kahana, Tzipora Fegi bat Liba, Yosef ben Meir, Robert Mitman, Dennis Shore, Helen Friedman, Charles Zolat, Yair Levine, and Rachel D. Can there be another Holocaust? Is it possible that there would be a Holocaust this time against American Jews in the United States? First of all, let's understand the meaning of the victory of Zoran Mamdani, this Muslim Nazi, and he is a Nazi. He says, globalize the Intifada. Globalize the Intifada means globalize the mass murder of Jews through terrorist attacks. The Intifada is the Islamic terrorist war to exterminate the Jewish people, to perpetrate a Holocaust against the Jewish people. That is what Intifada means. And he says it should be globalized. In other words, we shouldn't only be slaughtering Israeli Jews, we should be slaughtering Jews all over the world. And they gave him numerous opportunities on national television programs after his Democrat primary win for mayor of New York. They gave him numerous opportunities to say that he disagrees or condemns that. Instead, he made excuses and danced around it and refuses to condemn it. He refuses to condemn it because he supports it. He has supported the destruction of Israel. He has supported genocide against the Jewish people. He is a Muslim Nazi. And the latest results of the primary have finally come in after this crazy system that they have of what they call ranked voting. I'm not even going to get into what that means. But after this crazy system, Mamdani won the Democrat primary with 56% of the vote. 56% of New York Democrats voted for Mamdani. So 56% of your fellow New Yorkers, Jews, don't like you. They want you eliminated. They know damn well what Mamdani stands for. They know damn well that he supports the Muslim terrorist campaign to annihilate Israel, that he supports Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and all the enemies of Israel. They know what he supports. They know what he stands for. This is the BDS organizer. This is the one who organized the demonstrations where they burn American and Israeli flags. This is the one who organized the demonstrations where they chant death to America and death to Israel, and have Hitler chants against the Jews on college campuses. Mamdani was one of the leading organizers of this over the years and supported all of this and still supports it and will always support it. 56% of your fellow New Yorkers voted for that. What do you think that means? And by the way, the other 44%, that doesn't mean they like you. Many of the other 44% might have voted against him because they just don't want to vote for a socialist and someone who wants to defund the police and all the other left-wing positions he's taken. But you're not well liked, that's for sure. Nobody's going to stand up for you. No one's going to defend you when the moment of truth comes. That's what happened in the Holocaust, and we're seeing that happen again. You are fully exposed, and your own leaders, your own Jewish leaders and your own Jewish politicians are betraying you. Schmuck Schumer meets with Mamdani and didn't meet with him, but spoke. He said, I spoke to him on the telephone. We had a very good conversation. And Bernie Sanders endorses him. And Brad Lander endorses him. And if not for Brad Lander, he wouldn't have even won. This self-hating this Jewish fungus, Brad Lander, this Semitic fungus, endorses him. And the other Semitic fungi in the Congress, in the Senate, all these Jewish politicians are scum. And they would sell you out and would let you be murdered in 2 seconds to save their political behind. They're doing it to the Jews of Israel already. And the Jews in New York, look at how they reacted. First of all, some Jews, you have these sick, self-hating Jews who's actually supported this Nazi. This is like voting for the gas chambers and the ovens again. Except this time, it'll be a lot less efficient than the German gas chambers and ovens were much more efficient. The Muslims want to slowly and torturously rape, cut to pieces, and torture their victims, sadistically enjoying it, which is what we saw on October 7th in Israel, before they slaughter their victims. The Holocaust of the Muslims will be much crueler even than the Holocaust of the German Nazis, if it's possible to even imagine something like that. And that's what Mamdani is part of. He's their spokesman and their representative. Now, you may say, well, this is just in New York City. That's true. He's only going to be the mayor of New York City, but it's the most populous and important city in the country. It's the financial capital of the United States, and all the Democrat politicians, all of them are refusing to condemn him, are refusing to disassociate themselves from him. I mean, this is half the country is the Democrat Party. The country is split 50-50, pretty much down the middle, 50-50. We've seen that in recent elections. Trump, despite Trump saying that he won by a landslide, is baloney. Just look at the popular vote and you'll see he didn't win by a landslide. It was a very close vote. He won the popular vote, but he didn't win by a lot. The country is split about 50-50, and in 4 years earlier, 2020, he lost the popular vote. Again, it wasn't that far away from the 50-50 mark. The country is pretty much evenly split. So you have half the country supporting the Democrat Party, which wants Israel annihilated. They want Israel eliminated. They don't want a Jewish state. Their constituency chants from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which means destroy all of Israel and exterminate the Jews. That's their constituency. That's the Democrat Party, and the Jewish politicians in that party cater to that constituency. And if God forbid any one of them ever became president, it would be Israel's worst nightmare. Because then they would say, I'm Jewish, I wouldn't harm Israel, but Israel has to go back to the pre-1967 borders and create a Palestinian state and Palestinian self-determination. This is what a Jewish president would push, and it would go through much faster because he would say, I'm a Jew. Would I hurt Israel? That's what that swine, that evil Judenrat capo swine Henry Kissinger, Yamach Shmo v'zichro, did when he was Secretary of State. The worst enemy of the Jews is a Jew who gets into a powerful position and starts screwing his own people. That's why never vote for the Jewish politician. Never vote for the Jew. Outside of Israel, of course. Now, we have here, this is in New York City, you might say. Well, New York City, 3 years from now, we got a presidential election coming up. You've got people that agree with Mamdani who have the very good chance of becoming the next president. The next presidential election is 50-50. It could go either way, just like elections have been going for a couple of decades already in the United States. It can go to either party. It's very close. So you got at least an even chance that a Democrat might be president in 3 years, a Democrat who agrees with Mamdani. And a president like that will pressure Israel to commit suicide and will also incite anti-Semitic pogroms and anti-Semitic terror against Jews. And Mamdani will incite anti-Semitic pogroms and terror against Jews. The Muslim terrorists will feel free to do what they want against the Jews when you have leaders like this taking over offices in the United States. And so the danger is very, very serious. Now, that's if the Democrats win. What about if the Republicans win? The Republican in 3 years from now is probably almost, I think it's almost certain, unless something happens, God willing, I hope something happens, miraculous, but unless something happens, it's going to be J.D. Vance, the vice president, will be the Republican nominee. Incumbent vice presidents usually get their party's nomination. J.D. Vance will probably be the Republican nominee. That's what all the polls show. That's what all the experts say. That's what the party is behind him. Everybody's behind him. He will probably be the Republican nominee, and he doesn't like you, Jews. He doesn't like you at all. He was not happy about what happened in Iran. He wanted the United States to pressure Israel to not do anything in Iran and to allow Iran to build those nuclear bombs. He doesn't like you. He converted to Catholicism, that anti-Semitic religion. He was an evangelical Christian who became a Catholic. It's usually the other way around. But he wanted to join the anti-Semitic church that massacred, burned, and tortured and raped Jews for 2,000 years. That's the church he wants to be part of. He doesn't like you. And you're in a lot of trouble if he wins too. In the end, we're going to have it'll be so terrible. If you're still crazy enough to live in America 3 years from now, in the end, you're going to have a choice between Vance and the Democrat. Vance is probably a lesser of the evils. We probably will have to vote for Vance in a situation like that. But either one of those choices is going to be very bad if you're Jewish. Very bad, and very bad for Israel. Unless Israel finally has leaders that are willing to pursue a policy of independence. Israel has the ability to be fully independent and does not need United States military or economic aid at all. Israel would be far better off if she was pursuing an independent policy and building her own weapons and taking care of her own economy. She could have trade with countries all over the world, and she could be developing her industry and her high tech and everything else, but no foreign aid and no foreign control over Israel, which is what we have now, complete foreign control over Israel. Donald Trump and before him Joe Biden tell Israel what to do to the smallest detail. And that is suicidal for Israel. And unless that changes, it's a very dangerous situation there. Now, that's what's coming up in the United States. But let me just explain something to you, Jews who don't understand this. What if we have an economic crash in the country? Who do you think they're going to blame? People are already blaming the Jews for everything. Everything goes wrong. They find a reason to blame the Jews. And it's not just the left and the Democrats. Left and Democrats are all anti-Semitic. All of them are. But it's not just the left and the Democrats. You've got Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Joe Rogan and other people who claim to be part of the MAGA movement. And Green, Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever the name of that hideous low IQ Nazi woman is, the congresswoman from Georgia. These are vicious, vicious anti-Semites who want you dead. They'd like to see you dead. And so the danger here of America eventually turning to someone who would actually perpetrate a Holocaust against the Jews, the danger of that happening is real, that could happen in the future. Something like that could happen. And by the way, I got news for you. There already is a Holocaust against the Jews in America. It's a spiritual Holocaust. That's already taken place. American Jews are disappearing. 90% of American Jews are hardly even Jewish anymore. They're assimilated, intermarried. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they are. They have very little connection to the Jewish people, and many of them are anti-Semites. They're against their own people because they figure, let's get rid of Israel, then we won't have this burden on us anymore of being Jewish. So you should understand that there already is a Holocaust taking place. Millions of American Jews are disappearing. In the next world, by the way, the spiritual Holocaust is even worse than the physical Holocaust. In a physical Holocaust, Jews are murdered in this world, but they still can have a place in the next world, which is a world of eternal life. In a spiritual Holocaust, they lose both this world, because this world has no meaning for Jews who are assimilated and self-hating. In this, they lose both this world and the next world in a spiritual holocaust. They'll have no place in the next world when they give up their Jewishness. A Jew who gives up his Jewishness and who leaves the Jewish people is no longer and is not loyal to the Jewish people and has no connection to Judaism will not have a place in the next world and will not have eternal life. So we've got a dynamic here that is working against the Jews very, very clearly moving in a certain direction. The Jews are blamed for everything. Israel is automatically wrong. Even the self-hating Jews are quick to whip up and try to incite as much Jew hatred and anti-Semitism as possible. And the Muslims and other third world people who are going to become the majority in America, when they become the majority, what do you think they're going to do to you, Jews? They hate you. They detest you. They're jealous of you. You rich Jews. You think you're so smart with your college education, your college degrees. You Jewish billionaires, you owners of Facebook and Instagram and Google, all you Jewish billionaires. They hate you. They detest you. They envy you. And by the way, those Jewish billionaires are evil. They really are evil people. But the good Jews are blamed for them. It's the good Jews that get punished for them. And there are good Jews. But the third world people especially, that the Jewish leftists support. They want open borders. They want free immigration. Those are the people that will exterminate you if they have a chance to. They detest you. You think of those Muslims from the third world and the other third world people from Africa and all these other places, if they became the majority of the United States, you think Jews would survive in this country? Mamdani is what happens when they become a majority. Mamdani is what occurs. And it's coming to America very fast. What are you going to do then? You think you're safe when that happens? If you think you're safe, then move to a third world neighborhood. Move to a non-white third world neighborhood right now. You'll save on rent. You'll save, or if you want to buy a private house, you'll save on the cost of the house. Believe me, it's cheaper. Cheaper living there. You might as well move there now if you think you're safe there. You don't want to live there, though. Bernie Sanders, when he lived in Flatbush, left Flatbush and moved to Vermont, which was 99% white. This is Bernie Sanders, the big communist. But he wanted to live in a place that was lily white, like Vermont. He didn't want to live in Flatbush because Flatbush was becoming black. If you feel these third world people are going to be good to you, and all these groups that are becoming a majority of the American population soon, if you think they're going to be good to you, then you have nothing to worry about. Then what Chaim is telling you is nothing. There's nothing to worry about here. Everything is going to be fine, right? Isn't that what they said in the 20s and 30s when Jabotinsky was saying there's going to be a Holocaust in Europe? Everything's going to be fine. And by the way, America, the white Anglos, which is the white majority in America, are now about 57% of the population, something like 57%. So the country's already 43% from third world countries. Their origin is from third world countries. That's going to be the majority in America. The type of people who vote for Mamdani, the type of people who vote for Barack Hussein Obama, the type of people who vote for politicians who have a history of hating you. Now, that's just the reality. What's going to happen when they become the majority? What is going to happen to you? You think you're going to be safe? New York City is a prototype of where the whole country's going. Look at the next presidential election. Look at what's happening here. Next presidential election, who is the Democrat? By the way, you may have a Jewish president, God forbid. And if you have a Jewish president like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, or who supports a Palestinian terrorist state, or which would be suicide for Israel, of course, and who imitates Barack Hussein Obama, he wants to be the Jewish Obama. That's the type of Jew he is. Can you imagine a catastrophe like that in the White House, what that would do to us? And J.B. Pritzker, who is the governor of Illinois, seems to be interested in running. He's the owner of the Hyatt. His family owns the Pritzker family. They own the Hyatt hotels. They're multi-billionaires. They fund every anti-Israel and anti-Jewish cause under the sun. Every cause that works to undermine Israel and Israel's survival is funded by the Pritzker family. They have foundations that fund every cause that works to destroy Israel. Every organization, every group that is working to hurt Israel and works on the radical left and works to help the Arabs in Israel overrun Israel and destroy Israel, the Pritzker family funds all of that. His family is just like George Soros. That's the type of Jew he is. And by the way, the Jews get blamed for George Soros and for Pritzker and for, what's his name, Zuckerberg. From all these Jews are the worst anti-Semites, and yet the good Jews get blamed for them. But not only are those very powerful, wealthy, multi-billionaire Jews working to destroy Israel and their own people, hate Israel, hate their own people, but they also cause tremendous anti-Semitism. What's going to happen? What's going to happen when those third world groups that are now 43% of the US population, they were 10% when I was a boy. Now they're 43%. What's going to happen when they become a majority? No one disagrees. None of the demographers, no one disagrees that they're on their way to become a majority. Even if you stopped all illegal immigration, which is of course contributing to this. But even if you stopped all illegal immigration, of course, Trump is temporarily stopping a lot of it, but that's only temporary. When a Democrat gets in, we know the borders are going to open again. But even if you temporarily stopped it, just their birth rate, the white Anglos have negative population growth. That means the white Anglos are dying at a faster rate than being born in the United States. Their population is shrinking. The white Anglo population every year shrinks. It's called negative population growth. You have that in Europe as well. The third world groups have natural population increase. So no matter how you look at it, sooner or later, you're going to have a third world majority, and it's not going to be that far into the future in the United States. And then the United States will vote the way California and New York vote. The whole country will be like California and New York. And you'll have a president like Mamdani. And if you want an Israel that you'll be able to run to, let's say that I'm right. You want to have an Israel you'll be able to run to, you better support the heroic Hilltop youth. Because if the heroic Hilltop youth are driven out of their communities, and there are self-hating Jews in Israel doing everything they can to defeat the Hilltop youth, if you don't support them, they're not going to succeed, God forbid. We need to support them. They're fighting a heroic battle, but we need to support them. If you don't support them, you're not going to have any place to run to when the time comes. And not only that, if you don't support saving the 7 million Jews of Israel, you don't deserve to survive yourself. Anyone who doesn't care about, if a Jew that doesn't care about his fellow Jews in Israel doesn't deserve anything. You deserve everything you get if you don't care about your fellow Jews in Israel. But if you do care, you gotta do something about it, not just say you care. That's meaningless. Words are meaningless. Thoughts are meaningless. We need action. Action. Our enemies are doing action. We need action. This week, the Hilltop youth were holding a demonstration. About 40 or 50 Hilltop youth were holding a demonstration, a peaceful demonstration against Arab terrorism in Judea and Samaria. When Israeli army commanders who had come under fire the week before from Arab terrorists, by the way, are firing at Israeli soldiers, killing Israeli soldiers, trying to kidnap Israeli soldiers, firing and attacking and murdering Jews. And the Israeli army lets them build illegally, lets them do anything they want. The Israeli army and the Israeli police and the Israeli government let them do whatever they want. The only force stopping them from taking over Judea and Samaria, which is Israel's biblical heartland, Israel's strategic center, is Judea and Samaria. The only force stopping them is the Hilltop youth. Not the Israeli army, not the Israeli police, not any of the Israeli authorities. They built over 80,000 illegal structures, all against the law, all with court orders that these structures should be taken down, and nobody touches them. They could do anything they want. Reminds me of what happens. It should remind us of what happens to certain groups in America who can do anything they want and get away with anything they want. You know, there are certain groups like that in America too. You have the same politically correct garbage going on in Israel. But in Israel, we're talking about something that is absolutely suicidal. And so the Hilltop youth, they are blocking this with their bodies, with their families and their children, women and children living there to block this. And they've given up careers, given up everything to move to the frontier and to block this to save Israel. What magnificent, heroic patriots. And I can tell you that I am in touch with Hilltop youth leaders who didn't sleep for 2 or 3 nights in a row. You know what it is to go without sleep for 2 nights, 3 nights, or maybe to get just an hour or 2 of sleep each night? I don't know how they do it. I told them, you've got to get some sleep or you're gonna break down, you're gonna run down. I mean, they're young and they're very strong and really real heroes and very strong. These are very strong guys. But you can't go 2 nights without sleep. You can't. And one of them was going on a 3rd night without sleep. That's dangerous. Very dangerous. Your whole body can break down. Your life could be in jeopardy when you don't sleep for several nights in a row. It's insanity. And so, I begged them to sleep, and I said, you got to sleep. Don't worry. Because they're trying to go from here and there and every other location, Judea and Samaria, to make sure that the army doesn't throw them out here, doesn't throw families out there, doesn't. So that's why they're up 24 hours a day trying to guard, trying to run around, trying to make a difference. These are the leaders of the Hilltop Youth Movement. Their sacrifices are unbelievable. The torture the physical torture they have to go through going without sleep for so long and fighting so hard is unbelievable. Anyway, there was this demonstration in which 40 Hilltop youth were demonstrating against Arab terrorism. And they went to demonstrate in front of the Arab town to show the Arabs, we're not afraid of you. And the Arabs, by the way, the Arabs are afraid of them, actually. And because the Arabs are afraid of them, the Arabs right away called the Israeli army. The Arabs who say the Israeli army is committing genocide against us, but when the Hilltop youth come, the first people the Arab Muslim Nazis call are these left-wing commanders in the Israeli army. And the Israeli army came there, and there was one commander there who was especially evil, who started screaming, I'm going to kill all of you. I'll slaughter all of you if you don't get out of here now. You disperse right away. Peaceful demonstrators he's telling this to. And he takes his gun out and starts firing in the air over their heads, demanding that they disperse. Something which they don't do to Arabs. Even violent Arabs, they don't do. Very often they don't do this to. By the way, a week before, in that very same spot, when the army came to intervene on the side of the Arabs thanked them by firing at them with automatic weapons. And the Israeli army had to kill several of the Arabs because they were firing at them. And the commander, in order to justify his actions, and then the commander actually fired a shot and actually shot a 14-year-old boy who was one of the demonstrators, a 14-year-old kid, brave, wonderful 14-year-old kid, was shot in the arm. And because of the bullet went through and he had damage not only in the arm, because the bullet traveled through the body, he had damage. He had lung damage and other damage as a result of being shot. So he's injured because of it, and his life was in grave jeopardy. It's a miracle that he wasn't killed, God forbid. And this animal commander, this filthy pig commander, and he's a pig. He is a Judenrat pig. This pig commander then made up a story. Well, the Hilltop youth are throwing rocks at the Israeli army, which is a lie. A lot of the Israeli soldiers themselves are Hilltop youth. The Hilltop youth are the first ones to volunteer to serve in the elite Israeli units. But they're whipping up now this campaign that the Hilltop youth, they attack Israeli soldiers. They attack Israeli soldiers. Who was shot? Who was wounded? Who's making the threats to kill everybody? It was the army commander. Hilltop youth would never say or do anything like that. And then the next day, They went against 5 Hilltop outposts, Hilltop youth outposts, and destroyed them, the Israeli army. Not touching, again, not touching right nearby the Arab illegal building and massive Arab illegal building that they don't touch. The Hilltop youth, the Jewish patriots that are trying to save the country, that's who they go after and oppress. This is the deep state in Israel at work. That's the deep state. They have control of the Israeli army. Now, the average Israeli soldier is a hero. The average Israeli soldier is a Jewish patriot and a hero. But the high command of the Israeli army is controlled by the deep state. And by the way, you can't get past, when you get up to the ranks of generals, you can't get promotions and you can't get anywhere unless it's approved by Washington, by the United States. Israel, an independent country, has to ask Washington to approve appointing their own generals and their own people in their own, and in Shabak, which is the Israeli FBI, and in the Mossad, which is the Israeli CIA. You can't get anywhere. You can't get appointed to anything unless the United States approves. Could you ever hear of anything like this? And of course, the people in the United States making the approvals are also deep state Jew haters. We got to support the heroic Hilltop youth. If we give them the resources they need, they're going to win despite all of this because they're smart. They're smart and they're brave. And yes, God is on their side. But we got to give them the necessary resources just to survive. They need our help. If you want to make sure you have an Israel to run to when the Mamdanis of the world take over America, because let me tell you something, look at the demographics. That day is coming. The Mamdanis are going to rule in America. They'll be the majority of America someday. That's where America's going. I feel sorry for our righteous Gentiles who live in America. I feel very badly for you. For your sake, I don't want to see that happen. For your sake, I don't care, of course, about the evil people. But for the sake, there are righteous Gentiles in America. And for the righteous Gentiles, I don't want to see that happen to you. But unfortunately, look at the trends. Look where things are going. Look where things are moving. And Jews, when that happens, you are in great danger, in great jeopardy. And if you want to have an Israel to go to that will not be in the pre-1967 suicide borders, that will be an Israel with some security, with some where there's something decent to go to, and where the Jews are not facing an imminent holocaust in Israel. If that's what you want, you got to support the Hilltop youth. And J.T.F., in a situation like this, we're the only organization outside of Israel that's supporting the Hilltop youth. How can that be possible? There's nothing more essential, more urgent for the Jewish people and for Israel in our generation than helping the Hilltop youth rescue Israel from an Arab takeover of Judea and Samaria, Israel's biblical heartland. There's nothing more important or urgent than this. And J.T.F. with its meager resources, the only organization supporting them. Here's how you help the heroic Hilltop youth, and every donation does make a difference. If you first you can go, if you want to do it online, you go to our Hebrew main page, hayamin.org. And on hayamin.org, there is a donate button in English on top. Most of the page is in Hebrew, but there's a donate button in English on top. You click on the donate button, and in several minutes, you can easily and very conveniently donate. You can make recurring monthly donations, you can make one-time donations, or you can do both. Very important. Go there immediately after this broadcast and help the heroic Hilltop youth. They're going nights without sleep and risking their lives, and their 14-year-old kids are getting shot. I mean, look what they're doing for the Jewish people. Jews, help your fellow Jews, and righteous Gentiles. What a blessing for you to help the Jews at a time like this. I'll bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee, it says in the Bible. And the righteous Gentiles understand that. They understand that God means what he says when he says it in the Bible. God doesn't just God is not a politician. When God promises something, he means it. So, hayamin.org, donate button. Make donations. Very important. Also, leave J.T.F. in your will. If you leave the Jewish Task Force, J.T.F. in your will, with our post office box, leave it in your will so that they can get in touch with us. If God forbid something happens and you leave this world, God forbid, but leave it in your will so that if you leave this world, that you're leaving this world a better place. Believe me, It'll help you. Even when you leave this world, it'll help you. You can imagine, I think you know what I'm referring to. On the day of judgment, it will help you, believe me. And if you don't want to make a contribution online, if you'd rather do it through the regular mail, that's fine. No difference. No difference to as far as the Hilltop Youth. It's the same. It's the same very important help that we need. You just send checks and money orders made out to J.T.F. You make it out to J.T.F. and you send it to J.T.F. P.O. Box 650327, Fresh Meadows, New York 11365. I'm 68 years old. I joined the JDL of Rabbi Meir Kahana Zatzal, Hashem Yikom Damo, when I was 14, 54 years ago. The Jewish people were always under great threat. But we've come a long way since those days. When I first joined JDL, there were maybe 3 million Jews in Israel. Now there are over 7 million. There was no such thing as the Hilltop Youth. And the Jews in the Soviet Union were prisoners in the Soviet Union, prisoners of conscience, couldn't get out. Now they're all free. So we've come a long way on some fronts, but on other fronts, like the American Jewish front, things have deteriorated. And they will continue to deteriorate unless people wake up and wake up fast. We're trying to wake people up. And if there is an awakening, we can win. In the end, the Jewish people as a whole will win because God promised us that one way or another, he's going to give us that victory in the end. It's going to be a glorious, magnificent victory in the end. But until then, in order to avoid horrible suffering and pain and death and bloodshed, God forbid, until then, we've got to do everything we can to stand up for what's right. That's what we try to do here. We try to give you the opportunity to do that here every week. Don't miss that opportunity. For J.T.F. until next week, this is Chaim Ben Pesach. Shalom.